Hello, this is Ajahn Nissarano, whom most of you will know from my days in Sri Lanka, where I spent almost 14 years now, and now have been in Australia since the end of 2019. And I'm staying at Newbury Buddhist Monastery, Victoria. And I hope that next year I get the opportunity, the chance to visit Sri Lanka again. We see what happens with COVID-19. So I'd like to begin the Vesak Dhamma Talk for the Ajahn Brahm Society, 2021 Vesak Talk. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So, dear Dhamma friends, Vesak will be happening this week. The full moon of Vesak happens on Wednesday. And it will be the third year in Sri Lanka that we'll have a Vesak at home. And as I heard just recently, the whole country has gone into another lockdown. So this is a Vesak where we'll need to celebrate in our homes and in our hearts. It's rather than going to temples or monasteries, rather than celebrating in the streets and communities that we live in. But, of course, the question that it brings up, doesn't it, every year, how can we best celebrate Vesak? And, of course, it's the best way to celebrate Vesak is by practicing the teachings that the Lord Buddha has given us. Practicing it sincerely and with gratitude to the Buddha. And I like to mention that the Buddha mentioned in his Parinibbana Sutra in the Digha Nikaya, he said, any monk or nun, or male or female lay follower who practices in line with the teachings, the Dhamma, practices properly, living in line with the teachings, they honour, respect, revere, venerate, and esteem the realized one with the highest honour. So this is how the Buddha encourages us, isn't it, to practice Dhamma as a form of offering thanks, as a form of paying respects and honour to him. And Vesak isn't it, at a time that we can reflect on with so much gratitude, so much thanks for the teachings of the Lord Buddha. And it's a time of almost like Buddhanussati, where we reflect on the qualities of the Buddha. And whatever qualities we focus on, that will bring us happiness and joy. I remember the chant, and one of the chants that we have in Sri Lanka, where they talk about the guna of the Lord Buddha as being ananta guna, without end. And that's true, because the Itipiso Gata that we're so familiar with is just like a sampler, really. And there are so many qualities of the Buddha one could focus on, so many things one could practice from the Buddha's teachings. And of course, one of the most prominent things, one of the most prominent things in the Buddha's qualities are the four Brahma Viharas, the divine abidings, or as Ayakema used to call them, the four supreme emotions, which he said are the only things, only worthwhile emotions for developing. But this, and of course, the first one is Maitri, or Metta, loving kindness. The second is Karuna, compassion. The third, of course, is joy with the happiness of others, mudita. And the last, of course, is equanimity, or as I like to call it these days, acceptance. All of these Brahmaviharas are really, I feel, different flavors of Maitri or Metta. So Metta is such a key emotion, such a key quality for us, and it is a key to developing good qualities. It's a foundation for developing good qualities, supporting our practice of dana, sila and bhavana. And we all know, I'm sure most people know what metta or maitri is. It, of course, I mentioned loving kindness, but it's this sense of friendliness, and it comes from the word mitta. But more than that, it's really important for us to remember that metta is a feeling. It's a feeling of well-wishing, of friendliness, of kindness, of acceptance, goodwill, appreciation, ease, and it gives rise to this feeling of safety, security, and openness. So this is what metta or maitri, how we can define it. And of course, we need to develop this maitri not only on the cushion. Metta on the cushion is good because it reconditions our minds, but it's developing maitri or metta through our speech and through our actions and through our mind. It's both in private and public, the Buddha says, both in private and public. But daily life is where we need to use metta a great deal. But of course, as I mentioned, when we practice metta or maitri meditation, that reconditions our minds. And we can use words, we can use images, and we can use concepts as long as they bring up these feelings. So I feel this maitri, developing maitri, is such an important quality, especially now that Sri Lanka is entering another lockdown. This is quite a difficult experience for any country. And I remember in Australia last year how one person told me how people's mental health was suffering due to the lockdown. And they asked me to give a blessing, and I did chant a blessing. But I also commented that the best blessing is to practice maitri, this friendliness towards ourselves and others, and so that we're on good terms with ourselves and others, because we have to live with ourselves, and we have to like and accept ourselves as we are, realizing that we can change. And this maitri gives us a sense of connection with others too, which is very important at a time when there can be a lot of sense of isolation, when we're not close to all the people that we would like to be close to. And I remember well living in a cave in Sri Lanka near Balangoda for 8 years, and I rarely felt lonely because there was always this metta, this maitri that I was focusing on bringing up, developing, so that I never felt that loneliness, that sense of being distant from others, because they were in my heart, they were in my mind. And so maitri is very important for us at a time like this, and it reminds me of the story, isn't it, of the Lord Buddha's demonstration of the power of his maitri. And I think most of you will remember the story of Nalagiri, and that's at the time of the Lord Buddha, when Devadatta was trying to take over the Sangha, he arranged for the elephant keepers in the royal stable to release Nalagiri, the elephant that had killed a number of people already. It was very fierce, ferocious. And to make it even more fierce and ferocious, they say, I've heard, that they beat it and also gave it alcohol. And the idea was that when the Lord Buddha was coming on alms round, they would release Nalagiri, and Nalagiri would, the idea was, would kill the Lord Buddha. But of course what happened, as we all know, is everyone warned the Lord Buddha to move out of the way, to move to safety, but he wouldn't. And even Venerable Ananda tried to stand in front of the Lord Buddha, and he asked him to step aside. And Nalagiri was charging, his ears flapping, as you, as you know, with elephants that are very agitated. And the Lord Buddha sent forth his Maitri, his Metta, his loving kindness. And the elephant slowed down, and came to a halt in front of the Buddha. And the Buddha was able to pat Nalagiri, this fierce, ferocious animal that had killed a number of people. And then Nalagiri bowed down, and then he went back to the royal stables. So this was a demonstration of the Lord Buddha's power of Maitri. And I know Ajahn Brahm encourages us to reflect on that story of Nalagiri, so that when our minds are out of control, like Nalagiri, we give Maitri to our minds, that kindness, that acceptance that calms it down and brings peace to the mind. So this is a very important quality for us at this time. Any time it is important, but particularly at stressful times, that we have this loving kindness. And so I'd now like to just do a short reflection on a loving kindness, a guided reflection, so that we can not only talk about Maitri, a loving kindness, but to develop it. So for a few moments we can just develop this feeling, hopefully, of loving kindness, Maitri. And so we can come into the present moment and just let go of the past and the future just for a short time. And to become aware of the body, how it is feeling, and to relax it from the top of the head to the foot, toes, tips of the toes. And we can have this intention to develop the feeling of Maitri, of friendliness within ourselves. And we can visualize the Lord Buddha's kuti at the Gija Kuti, the vulture's peak, so named because it looked like a vulture, at Rajagaha, or as it's now known, Rajgir. And we can imagine being on the top of this mountain with a panoramic view, and the Lord Buddha is meditating outside his kuti. And we can visualize approaching, bowing 3 times, and sitting down in meditation. And we can visualize golden rays of Maitri, this feeling of loving kindness, of acceptance, of friendliness and warmth. Rays coming from the Lord Buddha and filling us from head to toe with this feeling of warmth, of ease, of kindness, friendliness. And we can get in touch with this feeling of Maitri. And we can breathe in this Maitri and breathe out this Maitri to the world. This golden rays of kindness, of friendliness, warmth, filling us, filling the breath, coming in and going out. and how we can share this feeling of Maitri with all those that are close to us, and then in ever-widening circles to cover the whole earth and all realms, including all beings, whatever form they are in, with this warm, golden feeling of the Lord Buddha's Maitri. And we can have the aspiration to develop this feeling of Maitri from the Lord Buddha in ourselves as much as possible, as often as possible, not only in our minds, but through our speech and actions too. And now we can come out of that short meditation and just conclude this Vesak talk, wishing that you may have a really joyful, inspiring Vesak, full of gratitude for the Lord Buddha's teaching, and be filled with this Maitri. Use this Maitri as a protection. It's often called a protection for our minds, for our hearts, and to celebrate this Vesak at home and in our hearts with this Maitri. So now I'd just like to chant a short sharing of merit and blessing to conclude this Vesak 2021 Vesak talk for the Ajahn Brahm Society. Etavata cha amhe sampadang punya sampadang samme deva anumodantu samba sampatti siddhya. Etavata cha amhe sampadang punya sampadang Sambe Bhuta Anumodantu Samba Sampatti Siddhya Etavata Cha Amhe Sambatang Punya Sampadang Sambe Satta Anumodantu Samba Sampatti Siddhya Akasata Jambumata Devanaga Mahindika Punyang Tang Anumoditva chirang rakantu sasanang akasata jamumata devanaga mahindika punyang tang anumoditva chirang rakantu desanang akasata jamumata devanaga mahindika Punyang tang anumoditva chirang rakantu twang sanda inang vonyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo inang vonyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo inang vonyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. May you abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may you maintain well-being in yourselves. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.